There is a town in the hills above Pune, with cobblestone promenades, pastel villas, and lakeside cafes designed to look like the Italian Riviera. It has streetlights, a sewage system, a school, and depending on which section you walk through, construction cranes frozen mid-lift, half-built towers wrapped in torn netting, and the silence where 300,000 people were supposed to live. This is Lavasa, and it might be the strangest city in India.
The idea started simply enough. India's cities were collapsing under their own weight. Mumbai was crumbling at the edges. Delhi was choking. So why not build a new one? Not extend an existing city, not redevelop a slum, but start entirely from nothing. A blank canvas in the Sahyadri Mountains, 65 kilometers from Pune. Planned roads, reliable water, consistent electricity, the things most Indian cities couldn't reliably promise. The company behind it was HCC, Hindustan Construction Company, one of India's most storied infrastructure firms. They had built dams across the Himalayas, tunnels through rock, expressways across states. In 2000, they decided to try something far more complicated: a city. The master plan called for 5 towns across 25,000 acres, 300,000 permanent residents, universities, hospitals, hotels, a knowledge economy in the mountains. The first town, Dasve, would be the proof of concept. And for a few years in the mid-2000s, it seemed credible. The Maharashtra government approved the project. Buyers arrived. Early photographs show something genuinely striking. Roads winding through green hills, a lakeside promenade unlike anything else in Maharashtra. The brochures weren't just selling apartments. They were selling a different kind of life. Clean air, short commutes, a city designed not to become the next chaos. Then in November 2010, everything stopped. India's Ministry of Environment and Forest issued a stop work notice. The charge was serious. Construction had proceeded across significant portions of the project without the required environmental clearances. Trees had been felled, hillsides graded. The Sahyadri Range sits inside the Western Ghats, one of the world's 8 biodiversity hotspots. And HCC had broken ground before getting the approvals those sections required. This was not a paperwork oversight. Work halted. Buyers who had paid deposits found themselves holding documents for homes that could not be built. The promenade, finished, photographed, sold in 100 brochures, stood there, intact and oddly beautiful, surrounded by a project that had been brought to its knees. What followed tells you everything about what it actually takes to build a city. HCC's model assumed property sales would generate continuous revenue to service debt, to fund the next phase of construction. When construction stalled, sales stalled. When sales stalled, revenue dried up. The debt did not. By the mid-2010s, Lavasa Corporation owed lenders over 2,000 crore it could no longer repay. The project was referred to the National Company Law Tribunal. Investors circled: a Swiss firm, a Singapore entity, infrastructure funds that assessed and retreated. Revival plans were announced and quietly abandoned. None of it resolved the fundamental problem. You cannot build a city in installments, pausing when money runs out, restarting when a new investor arrives, pausing again. A city requires sustained, uninterrupted commitment across a decade or more before it reaches the scale where it can support itself. Private real estate economics, subject to debt cycles and market sentiment, could not provide that. The people who had actually moved in found themselves living inside something that was neither a city nor a construction site, but an uncomfortable combination of both. The promenade was real, some cafes operated, the school ran, but services were incomplete, promised amenities unbuilt, roads in certain sections unfinished. They had bought a vision. They were living inside a diminished version of it. The vision wasn't wrong. A thoughtfully planned, privately operated city in India is not an absurd idea.
The country obviously needs better urban infrastructure. The master plan was sophisticated. The architecture was considered. The ambition was genuine. But drawing a city and building one turn out to be very different things. One needs architects and capital. The other needs years of permissions, environmental assessments, stable politics, patient financing, and an extraordinary amount of coordination that no master plan has ever found a way to make look glamorous. Lavasa underestimated almost all of this, not from ignorance exactly, but from the kind of optimism that large projects generate in their early stages. The belief that if the vision is strong enough, everything else will eventually fall into place. It won't. Somewhere in Lavasa today, life has filled the available space. The promenade is pleasant in the morning. The water is still. Someone is having coffee, looking out at hills that are genuinely beautiful. Behind scaffolding nearby, a building is waiting for a decision that may never come. Lavasa doesn't tell us that India can't build new cities. It tells us what building one actually requires. Not the architecture, not the ambition, but the unglamorous infrastructure of governance, patience, and coordination that no brochure has ever made look like anything other than what it is. The unfinished city is still waiting to find out whether anyone has learned how to cross that gap.